Hi, I'm Pep Phelan from Melbourne in Australia. I wasn't planning on starting any kind of videos. I don't particularly like to be on camera. I am thinking about starting some podcasts, but I've made a decision over the pandemic, so with the COVID crisis occurring, that it's probably great that we get to see one another and share our wisdom and knowledge so that we can all contribute to better health and well-being, particularly as we're all trapped in isolation, social isolation. My background is in social and emotional well-being. I have a Masters of Rehabilitation Counselling from Griffith University in Queensland, and I specialised when I went through that program, focusing specifically on looking at trauma, psychological injuries such as PTSD, vicarious trauma, compassion fatigue, and how these impact people at an everyday level throughout the course of their lives, and particularly from an occupational perspective. I'm currently completing a PhD at the University of Melbourne, which is really, really exciting. I've kind of just started, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm particularly interested in reaching out to anyone who might be feeling particularly sensitive, particularly anxious, particularly traumatized around what's actually occurring at the moment. I think we're all trying to do our best underneath the circumstances. And I, like you, am currently in isolation with my partner and the children. I make it a priority to speak to my mother every day and my father, who's currently trapped in another state because Australia's actually closed down all of its borders, so people can't actually transit between states, and it's made it very difficult for him to get home. On this channel specifically, what I want to focus on particularly is what it takes for us to feel strong and empowered to be able to live our lives at our optimal strength and in the full sense of our power. Considering it is the time that it is, global pandemic, and we're all struggling with the self-isolation, particularly if we're active. We love to socialise, like I love to socialise. Perhaps you don't actually know how to use a lot of social media, such as Zoom or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or other apps that allow you to connect. I've currently just downloaded House Party, which has been really, really great. There are a whole range of activities that you can do that will assist you in coping with this particular crisis. So I'm really into practical things that can be done to improve health and well-being, particularly psychological health. And what's really critical is that none of us need to be perfect. We just need to make tiny steps day after day after day in order to feel like we have some form of control over the circumstances in our lives. So the things that you should be considering to focus on at the moment, there's sort of four main areas. In order for you to feel some sense of control and some sense of empowerment around a particularly uncertain time, these are the four areas to consider. The psychological, which includes the emotional and mental. The physical, including all aspects of the body. The spiritual component of the self, so spirituality, belief systems, philosophies. And the fourth is social, so your connection with others, your relationships to your families, your friends, and your peers, and also to the wider community. So starting with the psychological, some great activities to start to consider doing, which will take your mind off what's happening, allow you to self-reflect, allow you to understand yourself at a different level, and also maybe come up with some really, really creative new ways of looking at life and engaging with life. Things such as journaling, completing a vision board, so looking at what it is in the future that you want to be doing, cutting out magazines, newspapers, photographs and adding it to a board. It really helps you to understand where you want to manifest your future. Some short, medium and long-term planning and strategizing. So sitting down and figuring out, hey, where is it that I'm going? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to look like? And then working backwards from there, creating really strong strategies about how you get to those areas in your life, how to fill any knowledge gaps or any gaps in your life that you believe that you may have. Undergoing some counselling or psychology, so even if it's just peer-to-peer, friend-to-friend, family-to-family, or actually seeing a professional, jumping online, seeing if there's anyone that you can talk to throughout this crisis, people who are particularly expert in dealing with crisis or any mental or psychological concerns, particularly anxiety, depression, isolation, etc. So this should really, really help you in moving forward and feeling really stable at the moment. Any joy-inducing activities, so creative outlets for you, whether it's drawing, music, learning a new instrument, creating videos, podcasts, learning how to use the computer, social media and things like that. I know I've asked my mum to use this time to start to do that, so she's much more computer literate. And I know this will create incredible strength for her in her life and talking with grandkids and communicating with friends and family. In my house at the moment, there's plenty of drawing, there's plenty of painting, there's podcasts. We're doing kids podcasts at the moment. I'm creating a whole set of worksheets around mental health and empowerment, particularly for people who are interested in making stepped improvements in their life. Cooking, maybe you love to cook, or maybe you don't know how to cook and you'd love to learn. So we don't know how long we're going to be in lockdown for. There is so many things that you can do to start to engage yourself and not particularly distract yourself from what's occurring, but to reduce your focus on the negative, to reduce your focus on that which is anxiety inducing, and start to do things that make you feel good and full of joy. Connecting with family and friends is also really critical. So in your immediate house, if you do have others, start spending some time. Look at family history, have some discussions around old photographs, future planning, what kids want to be when they grow up, and start to have those really great discussions. There's obviously plenty of educational things that kids can engage with. And although I know a lot of parents don't want to increase screen time for kids, the amount of education that is available for kids on places such as YouTube to improve maths, English, and other areas of their life, I would certainly consider not being afraid and getting out there and finding some stuff for the kids to be able to do that really improves those areas of their lives that they might be missing out on at school. So in the physical realm, all of us know that our physical bodies are really important to keep healthy. The state of our physical body actually improves the state of our mind as well. So doing whatever you can within the house in order to improve your physical activity, whether it's walking up and down the stairs at home, doing push-ups, sit-ups, dips, lunges, squats, using kilo cans from the fridge and doing bicep curls. A skipping rope is a really great way to do it. I know at our place we have a skipping rope and a kettlebell and some boxing gloves, so we're going to get stuck into that. There are so many things that you can do, and again, YouTube is a fantastic place for you to find a lot of that information. There are so many amazing people out there that were right on the front foot with this and have put together amazing home-based exercise routines. So find what you like and start participating in it. Eating well is really, really critical, particularly given the fact that a lot of us aren't able to go outside. None of us really are able to go to the gym or go for a run or go for a bike ride. So a lot of that high intensity cardio has actually reduced in our lives. So eating well is really, really critical for us to maintain a good sense of health and a good balance with our bodies. So plenty of fresh fruit and vegetables, good proteins, good carbs, nuts and seeds, plenty of nutrients. Avoiding things like high levels of caffeine, high levels of sugar, high levels of alcohol, or high levels of processed foods. If you can minimize those substances, you will go a long way to being consistent with your health. Sleep is another critical factor, and there's a whole stack of information around sleep hygiene, and that's another thing that I will definitely go into on this channel in later videos. Sleep hygiene is critical for our health. And again, just some really, really short pointers on sleep hygiene. Make sure you go to bed at the same time every day if you can. Pick a time that's appropriate for you. Try to get up at the same time every day. So sleep routines are really critical, not just for kids or for babies, but for adults as well. Again, avoiding substances that may interfere with sleep or interrupt sleep, such as caffeine, alcohol, high levels of sugar, heavy meats or large meals towards the end of the night, just before you go to sleep. Making sure that you're turning off devices at least an hour to 2 hours before you go to bed. Making sure that you're not watching television in the bedroom. Keeping the bedroom for activities such as intimate activities and sleep, and that's about it. And avoiding anything that's going to make you get up in the night. So don't drink large quantities of water later in the day. Don't drink large quantities of caffeine later in the day. Anything that's going to increase your urination output is obviously going to create issues for your sleep if you need to get up in the middle of the night. Our spiritual selves. This is a really, really critical area to start to engage with, particularly if you're not a religious person or you don't believe that you're a spiritual person. A lot of people in my life are highly religious, so they have a very specific structured routine around their spiritual practice. I myself am not religious, but I'm highly spiritual. I spend a lot of time doing activities that nurture my spirit, uplift me, make me feel empowered. I have a very solid life philosophy, which for me is a very spiritually empowering component of my life. But if you aren't particularly engaged in what we would call spiritual aspects of the self, some really, really simple things to start to think about would be simple meditation. Again, there are so many incredible guided meditations on YouTube. I use a lot of them every day. I might meditate once or twice a day. Often, if I'm having trouble sleeping, I'll put on a guided meditation and it will help. There are so many incredible guided meditations online. Go have a look, find some that you really like. There's also apps such as the Mind app or the Calm app. You do have to pay for the premium versions, but there are some activities that are available for non-paying members. Affirmations, fantastic way to connect spiritually. Affirmations are statements that affirm us. For example, a great affirmation that I use often is I am unconditional love. I am unconditional love. And just saying that to myself in my mind often, particularly if I'm feeling a little bit unbalanced, brings me back into center and allows me to feel deeply connected with myself. A really key component for everything that's occurring right now would be what I would define as ritual and ceremony. So ritual and ceremony are activities that are done consistently in order to achieve an outcome. So getting up in the morning at the same time, going have a shower at the same time, brushing your teeth after you eat breakfast, starting work at a particular time, having a break at a particular time. Obviously this is ritual. You can add a spiritual component into that, which is also ceremony. So maybe of a night time when you finished your work day, you've had your shower, you've done dinner, you might want to light a candle, say a prayer or an affirmation. Just adding these little things into your life make a big difference. Again, ritual and ceremony is something that I'm certainly going to start to work with on this channel. I think it's an incredibly critical part of life and something that a lot of Western cultures have actually lost touch with over the last few centuries. The final area I'd love you to consider would be the social aspect of your life. Obviously, all of us are in social isolation at the moment. Social isolation meaning we are isolated from our family and friends. A lot of us have family, partners or kids at home, maybe parents as well, or brothers and sisters, maybe housemates. But there are a lot of people also that are single, so they do feel quite socially isolated. It's critical during this particular time to connect with people, connect with your family, connect with your friends. Have a morning meeting, even if it's just for a connection for 5 minutes. Using apps like Zoom or WhatsApp or House Party or Google Hangouts, any of those socially connecting apps will really help you to engage with people and to feel a sense of connection. If there are any hobbies or recreational activities that you can do in groups with people online, absolutely engage in that. I'm no games wizard, video games wizard, or I've got really no idea about video games, but I know there are huge video game communities where you can connect with people through games. If that's your thing, get onto it. Otherwise, through your creative hobbies or your creative activities, start to engage people. If there's a person in your network, so a family, friend, peer, etc., that's got the same sort of passions as you, connect with them. Start to create some content. Start to make a podcast, make videos. Do whatever it takes in order to connect with others. I absolutely believe that the next month, or next couple of months, with the way that the world currently is, this is a huge time, even though it's really anxiety inducing and obviously dangerous for a lot of people. For the vast majority of us, this is an incredible time for us to get creative, to start to learn new things, to do new things, and to transform the way that we live our lives. We're not going to be trapped inside forever, but we can use this time to revolutionize the way that we do things, the way that we know things, and the way that we are. I hope this has really helped you out, even just a tiny bit. I highly recommend that you subscribe to this channel, click the like button and the notification. There's going to be plenty more videos like this. I've made a decision, this is what I'm going to do. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next vid.